My victory over cancer is a journey that began actually almost 10 years ago when my wife was diagnosed with a cancer that eventually took her life. As a result of that, I myself began to experience some major health difficulties, primarily because as her caregiver, my body was exhausted. Long story short in that, God saw me through that and healed me, healed my body, healed my mind, my heart, my spirit, and set me on a journey of finding and falling in love with a wonderful, wonderful lady to whom I'm now married, Patty. 1 year after our anniversary, I began to notice some physical difficulties in my own body and went to my doctor, and after a myriad of tests was sent to an oncologist where further tests proved my suspicions and at the time my fears and that which I dreaded the most, that I did have cancer. Began immediately an aggressive protocol of chemo, every kind of medication that one could probably think of was introduced to my body. The good news is that the cancer was put into remission. The bad news is, as a result of that, my body suffered a horrible toll, especially my kidneys. Further testing revealed that the damage to my kidneys was very real and very severe. I began to ask my doctor, what can we do to make this right? He said, there's not much other than simply attempting to monitor the situation, get you off of some of these medications, because you see the medications that I was on for cancer created a perfect storm. That perfect storm manifested itself in my kidneys. And as we begin to delve deeper into the protocol of what I had, I realized there really is no protocol to repair kidney damage, that the best you can do is hope to stop it. Approximately a year ago, after at that time, the latest of my quarterly physicals and blood work, my doctor told me that my counts, my bad counts, were continuing to go up. And he said, we've got to watch this. More steps were taken to get me off medications that were not good for my body or good for my kidneys. As a result of that, ever being hopeful, I believe very much in a blessed hope. Unfortunately, in times of trouble, many of us practice what I call a desperate hope. But holding on to that blessed hope, I realize that God is in control of this. So I actually began to feel better. And back in this summer, when just prior to getting ready to make a 5-week road trip out west, returned to my doctor full of expectation that things were better. And he said, Michael, if things don't improve, if your counts don't improve, when you return, we have to begin dialysis. When hearing from my doctor that dialysis was in my future, I immediately was set upon by mixed emotions. On the one hand, knowing that dialysis would buy me some time, but yet in the long run, that in and of itself, dialysis is very detrimental to your kidneys. I began to ponder, I began to think and pray and ask God what direction I needed to take. And all of this time, God had been dealing with me about some things that Michael Terrell had been sharing in regards to his Whole Tones project. I was very much listening to what Michael was saying. I didn't just hear his words, I heard his heart. As he shared out of passion the almost 20 years of vision and ministry and ideas that he carried in his heart for this, and to know that it was beginning to come into fruition, I knew within that there was something that was going to be a key for me. The Lord set upon me with an incredible presence. I learned that in the midst of a perfect storm, if we trust Him, there is a perfect peace. I found that perfect peace through the Word of God. I also found that perfect peace because I was attuned to the Lord. Michael had been kind enough to share with me an early copy of Whole Tones. God began waking me up at 3 o'clock every morning, and as you become familiar with Whole Tones, you're going to learn the significance of numbers and all of this. My number was 3 a.m. And I would get up, and rather than wasting my time browsing or scrolling the internet or reading a book, I would pop Whole Tones into my computer and put on a set of headphones and say, Lord, no matter how this turns out, as your child, I love you enough and believe in you enough to know I win. I win either way. But Lord, if you have something for me in this project of Michael Terrell's, then let it begin to manifest itself to me. It didn't happen the first day. It didn't happen the second. Over the course of about 6 weeks, with the Lord just ministering to me through my consistency of being awakened every morning at 3 a.m., putting on the headphones, listening to the Whole Tones Project, something wonderful began to transpire in my body. Something wonderful that God was doing, so He was aware of it. I didn't quite yet know. One of the things that I learned was, though I may not know or be aware of what God is doing, that doesn't mean that what He's doing is any less. It just means that at some point in my life, the delight and the surprise will even be greater. What I learned upon my visit back to my doctor, he said, Mike, something's going on with your blood work. My first human emotion and response was to become even more despondent, bracing for bad news. But in my spirit, I knew that was not the case. And so I said, what is it, doctor? And I called myself in the mirror in his office, and I was smiling. And he said, well, according to our latest test, your blood work is good. I said, what are you saying? He said, your kidneys are appearing as normal. So I said, okay, what do we do? He said, I want you back in another week, and we're going to perform these tests over again. So I, with great expectation and with excitement, waited that, by the way, one of the longest weeks of my life, but I waited it out, returned to his office. We went through the protocol of all the blood testing and double checking everything. And once again, my blood work returned, testifying and declaring that my kidneys were healed. Now, what that told me was, first of all, it was a sovereign God at work. But God uses tools. In the creation, God used the tools of so many myriad and different things to bring forth His creation. In the world, God can influence and set His presence mightily upon everything, but He chooses to use us, His children, as tools. In this case, the tool of the miracle that God used was the Whole Tone Project by Michael Terrell. I'm absolutely convinced in my heart and my spirit that because I was hearing the voice of the Lord, because Michael Terrell was sensitive enough to get this project into my hands, that I was consistent enough to listen to it over and over and over again, that because of that, today I can declare that I am healed. Kidneys that no medicine can heal, no man can heal, today are healed because God, through a project that His hand is upon, has healed me to His honor and to His glory.